The moment the cause of the house explosion was known, we knew that this was coming. His first time on a B-17 since he jumped out of one during the war. A political odd couple, proving that bipartisanship isn't dead. John Oliver teaches America that a likely candidate for our governor enjoys dressing like a musketeer. And two people in two very different lines of work make a similar plea.
Sometimes people forget that the officers are people.
The thing customers don't always remember is that the other side of the counter is a real person too.
Real news for real people, from real people. Next. And here come the lawsuits for the house explosion in Firestone. The first isn't from either of the families that lost someone that day. The first is actually from neighbors who saw the explosion in the fire. They're suing Anadarko, which owned the oil and gas well suspected of leaking natural gas into that house. They're suing Noble Energy, which owns other wells nearby, suing the developer and the home builders who put homes over the old pipelines. A lot of pages of legalese out today comes down to this. They say they are scared to be in that neighborhood. We expected a decision today from Governor Hickenlooper on whether he's going to drag legislators back to the Capitol for a special session. You try to hammer out a tax hike to fund infrastructure projects, but nope, no decision today. The governor can do it at any point because he's the governor. It is a sign of something that happened a long time ago, but it was just unveiled today, more than 60 years after that night in 1953, when Denver police officer William Clausen declined an offer to skip his overnight shift. He didn't want his partner to work alone. He was shot and killed during a burglary. People who passed 29th and Downing will now see a reminder of his service and sacrifice. Clausen is one of 72 Denver police officers who have died in the line of duty in that department's 158 years. The Denver Police Museum is working to place signs at each location where an officer was lost.
You know, they gave their life for this city, and it's important that you know who they were and what they did. In the history of the 158 years since Denver has become a city, we've had 72 officers killed in the line of duty. In memory of Denver Police Officer Thomas J. O'Connor, March 5th, 1934. The officer was on duty and had stepped out of the car, and a drunk driver came around the corner and killed him. Each person has a story to tell, and it's important that they be heard.
Well, I remember a knock at my door at 5 a.m. in the morning, and I knew why they were there. In memory of Denver Police Officer Merle E. Nading, October 3rd, 1971. He went out to the parking lot to quell the disturbance, and a man came out of the crowd and shot my husband in the back. He died actually at the scene.
These signs are placed where the officers lost their lives, and so by putting these signs where the actual locations are, it's a reminder that these incidents, historic as they are, occurred, you know, throughout this city.
He was a very compassionate person, I would say, and how he did his job. This sign means a lot to me because I was at his dedication when they did this sign, and it means a lot. It really does.
It's a way for us to remind the families that the officers are not forgotten.
Denver Police Museum is going to be working on this project for the next few more years. They're putting signs up at the current rate of 8 a year. America lost about a third of its B-17 bombers in World War II, including the plane that was shot out from underneath Bob McAdam. Bob is now 96 years old, and in Broomfield today, he stepped aboard one of the surviving B-17s for the first time since he had to jump for his life.
I was 23. We were to bomb some oil refineries in northeastern Germany. It was a first mission. I never got to the target, and especially trying to get out with the parachute and everything, getting through some of those spaces was a challenge. One of the crew mentioned there's smoke coming out of number 2 engine, and then right after that the other inboard engine started to sputter. He turned around, he said, jettison the bombs and throw everything you can out of the plane. Then about 30 minutes into the return flight, the third engine went out. That's when we were told to bail out. After we bailed out, we were captured. All 8 of us were captured, and I was in prison camp for a little bit over 10 months. Well, the Germans, for the most part, lived up to the Geneva Convention. I wasn't mistreated, for example. But if you stepped out of the line, they were waiting to put it to you. The Russians came into our camp on May 1st, 1945, and liberated us. So people have asked me, you know, whether I was frightened or excited, and I can't remember being that way at all. But I remember I thought, I better get this right. That was kind of the main thought.
B-17 travels around the country thanks to a nonprofit called the Liberty Foundation. Now, they couldn't get airborne for Bob today, but they're hoping to fly this weekend when the public can fly on the plane as well. We have details in the story on 9news.com. We didn't get a chance to meet Mac last week, just Betty. We sat with her as she waited for her husband to return, just as she did all those decades ago when he was also in the war. Mac McClure was in Washington last week on an honor flight with other veterans from the metro area. Betty predicted he would be talking up a storm when he got home. She was right.
But I didn't have any trouble sleeping, I'll tell you. Woo! Because you don't stop from the time you get up until you go to bed. You just don't stop.
Was your flight good?
Huh?
Was your flight good?
Boy, the one going over was pretty rough. And then the one, it was better coming back. Boy, that guy sure made a nice landing out here.
Mac and Betty's life together has been punctuated by time spent apart. His 4 years in the war, the late nights and the road trips of a truck driver working 2 jobs, and then most recently, when Betty moved into a nursing home. Every time Mac comes back to her, Betty told me, he just lights up the room. She lights up too. They've been married 72 years.
Okay, hon. Sit still. I'll see you later.
That's all right.
See you later, sweetie.
Okay.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Going in for a second scoop there, I see. You'll hear more of Mac and Betty's story and meet more of the veterans aboard that honor flight during a special that'll air June 3rd on Channel 20. We'll give you all the details when we get closer. It's a sign, a couple of them, and it could also be a trap. Next viewer Bob Prawl spotted the sign in the Highlands near the intersection of 32nd and Perry. Well, a couple of signs there. Now, bear with us. Read through these now. Loading only, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Right underneath that, 2-hour parking, 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. Come again now?
Only need to reprint one sign. The 2-hour parking needs to be 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. instead of 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. That would solve the whole thing. Great. But you still can't see it as you're driving by because there's 4 things to look at, and it is a tow-away zone.
They're all stacked up on top of each other, too. So you're Steve Stager in the background. So he went poking around the neighborhood for us, found a gem 2 blocks down at the corner of 32nd and Osceola. Come on, people, what are we doing? 2-hour parking, 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. I'm no math whiz, but 9 p.m. to 10 p.m., that would appear to be 1 hour.
It's a nightmare reading that. Imagine if you're driving from somewhere else and I'd sit here for 10 minutes in the car. I'm trying to get a beer. Like, wow, I'm so confused. What do I do right now?
Denver's Public Works Department says, yep, those would be misprints. The sign at 32nd and Osceola was fixed today. The one at 32nd and Perry should be fixed tomorrow. When I say fixed, they put up a sticker over the misprints, which makes sense. That's economical, right? If you think that you got a parking ticket at either of these intersections in error because of the bad signage, Public Works says you can go to the parking magistrate to dispute it. If you do that and you lose because of those stupid signs, be in touch with Next. We'll be on it like stink on a monkey. You've probably flashed past the road sign all Speedy Gonzales style, but do you know how the locals pronounce the name? You can plant outside after Mother's Day, they said. It'll be fine, they said. They didn't see this week's forecast. And our Colorado confessions continue with a woman who works retail, and she knows how some of her customers see her. Next. All right, if you ever mumble the name of a city or a street because you're not sure how to say it, you have something in common with this guy who's done it on the TV news before. But how about the name of the town on I-70 out east past Lyman? Starts with an A. You see it on the sign. A few Next viewers nominated this one, particularly Kendall Willis and Cindy Hutchins. So we took their question to the town's clerk and asked, what do you say?
It's just Araba. It's just kind of, just sound it out. Araba, no reason to go Ariba. Just Araba. Small, crazy little town, and we have one gas station, and it's pronounced Araba. That's about it.
Did you say small, crazy little town? I think a bunch of us grew up in small, crazy little towns. Town clerk says Araba's 195 people strong at last check. Town turns 100 years old next year. If you want to send us down a dirt road or up a busy highway in search of the proper pronunciation of a Colorado place name, you know how to get in touch. It's always the same deal. Email next@9news.com or get our attention with the hashtag HeyNext.
Kyle, we talk about that town all the time this time of year. It seems like they're kind of the bullseye for hail when severe weather season develops. So only 195 people there. That's amazing. And again, a town we mention a lot in weather. Not a lot of weather today, but that is about to change. Not one, but two storm systems taking aim at Colorado this week. It's so pretty up in the high country today, but we might be looking at the snow up high later this week coming right down here to Denver. Hard to believe that when you hear that we're looking at temperatures in the mid-80s with all this sunshine to start the week. But first system's going to roll through from the southwest, triggering a few thunderstorms tomorrow and Wednesday. It's the second storm up in the Pacific Northwest that could bring a rain-snow mix Thursday night into Friday. We're tracking some severe storms in southeastern Colorado tonight, a scene that will play out again tomorrow. Moisture's pretty limited, but on the southwest flow, enough of it coming in with heating of the day that we put a 20% chance of thunderstorms in, and we'll watch those closely. The big weather change comes Thursday and Friday. Thursday will be cold and rainy, with that rain possibly mixing with snow Thursday night into Friday morning. Not tonight. Windy and mild temperatures in the mid-40s. Tomorrow, temperatures back in the low 70s, so a little cooler than today, but still awfully nice. A nice day on Wednesday, and then cold, wet weather for Thursday and Friday again. Rain Thursday, possibly mixing with snow Thursday night into Friday. And if temperatures drop into the 20s late Thursday night, all the things that you have planted, well, Kyle, I don't have great news to what might happen to them there.
There goes my grow operation. All right. Thank you, Kathy. There is some serious shopping done this past weekend, making it the perfect time to hear the confession of a retail worker. She asked us how many shoppers really pause to consider how they're treating the people behind the counter.
I'm Jennifer, and this is my confession of someone who works in retail. I have been in retail for over 20 years. Things people don't necessarily realize is people in retail go to college, and some of us actually do this for life, and it's a job that we turn into a career for a lot of reasons. Some of the great things about working in retail is, of course, you usually get a great discount. Every day is different. You never know who's going to walk in the door. Something brings them in the store for a reason, and it's, trying to nail down what it is that they're after to make it beneficial for both of us, I guess. The thing customers don't always remember is that the other side of the counter is a real person too. If you're on your cell phone and you're apologizing to the person you're actually speaking with on that phone, maybe it should be backwards and the other way around. You should be apologizing to the person that deserves your attention, who's really trying to help you. You need a receipt if you want to bring something back. That's not something new. There's always somebody who has to fold what you unfold or clean up the mess your kids made on the aisle floor with their goldfish crackers. It doesn't just happen. There's actually a person that has to clean up and undo what you did. I hope people take away really the knowledge and the understanding that there is a person on the other side of the counter. There is a person who has kids, who has a husband or a wife or mom or dad. If I can, in a day, have someone say, thank you, this was so easy, you really helped me get my shopping done quickly, that's a successful day. Not high standards, just one person to be nice is really all that I'm after. I'm Jennifer, and that was my confession of someone who works in retail.
All right, now, so retail worker, we've heard the confessions of bridesmaids, an airline employee, a substitute teacher. Who's next? Don't be shy. Come on down. If you want to lay a little unapologetic honesty on the ears of Colorado, we're happy to listen. Email next@9news.com or tweet us up with the hashtag HeyNext. You want one of those emoji faces. Not the best introduction if you're looking to run for governor of Colorado. John Oliver's brutal takedown of the guy in the Three Musketeers outfit. We do expect that you will dress like an actual human if you want to join Next's live studio audience. Yes, that's a thing now. And there's state legislators who don't agree on everything, or most things really. But there is this one thing. Next. When I say the name Kent Thiry, what comes to mind? Did you know that he's the CEO of DaVita, or that he may run for Colorado governor? Okay, well, if you didn't know that, then this is your first introduction to Kent Thiry, and it's brutal. John Oliver savaged him on last night's last week tonight on HBO. It was a piece on profit in the kidney dialysis business, and a lot of it very serious, like about whether people are truly told that a kidney transplant might help them live longer. But Oliver could not let go of the fact that DaVita CEO Kent Thiry occasionally enjoys dressing in Three Musketeers costume, or suggested that his business might be run like a Taco Bell. There's 9 News reporter Noel Brennan making a little cameo in there as well, talking about a fat settlement that DaVita paid. If Thiry seeks the Republican nomination for governor, we probably will not be seeing Noel or the Three Musketeers outfit in the campaign ads. There's a link to the whole piece from HBO on the next Facebook page if you want to check it out. So it goes like this. You're suspected of a crime. Your assets are seized by federal law enforcement. Could be a bank account, your car, your house. Even if you're never convicted, you have to go to civil court to fight for your property. Law enforcement says civil forfeiture is needed to fight organized crime. The Colorado State Legislature overwhelmingly passed a bill this year to reform civil forfeiture in our state. Its sponsors are proof that legislators with seemingly little in common politically can find common ground. So we're joined here now on Next by two members of our state legislature. State Senator Tim Neville, Republican from Jefferson County, and State Representative Leslie Herod, a Democrat from Denver. So being such polar political opposites, what both drew you to this issue of civil forfeiture reform? What do you think is broken about the system?
Yeah, I think it's fundamentally wrong for law enforcement to be able to take and keep people's possessions if they haven't charged them with a crime or convicted them with a crime. And so when I heard about this practice happening, I knew that I wanted to, one, learn more about the issue and then address it head on.
The biggest issue that I've seen is just the fact that people's actual property can be charged with a crime, and they don't have an opportunity for the due process that you would think, that most people think that you would see in the system.
I was reading the work earlier today of a DU political science professor, Seth Maskett, who is using our state legislature as an example of the point that he was trying to make, which is that polarization does not necessarily mean gridlock. You come from the left and the right of a very polarized legislature, but one that got a decent amount done this session.
Yeah, we are very different, but at the same time, we understand the issue and the problem, and then it's just a question of working together. So finding those opportunities and ways to work together they're bills that I truly enjoy, and bills every year that you're going to see. We had a bill on free speech on campus, which was very similar. It may have started out being seen as polarized, but frankly, it's an opportunity. These are the individual rights that we all focus on, that our founders set, and that we can all agree on. This is kind of going back to the basics, back to the nitty-gritty, and saying what's really important in our republic, and we should be able to agree on those.
Yeah. I got to tell you, when I started in the legislature, I didn't think, first person I'm going to work with is Senator Tim Neville. That guy is one guy I can align with on policy. And I was wrong, and when we started working on this bill, we became to know each other much better and realized that there are a lot of places we overlap in ideology, and law enforcement and criminal justice is one of those places. And so though we might be a partisan legislature, we don't have to work in a partisan way to get things done. Actually, we quite frankly shouldn't.
Hey, we ran out of time to talk about our live studio audience and how this is going to work. We will get into it tomorrow. I promise I won't Matt Damon it then. A little feedback on the outfit tonight. Brad says, ooh, shirt and coat combo, too good. Then Kelly says the shirt, the jacket, none of it matches, not a bit. Those tweets actually came in one right after another. It was fantastic. We'll use tomorrow night's jacket as the tiebreaker, all right? See you next time.